Welcome to yet another episode of Nerds with Badges. I am having fun with this AI background generating feature on my Chromebook Plus. It needs a little work. When I move around, I just kind of disappear. I don't know. Trying to get like a good angle here. Okay, it is Wednesday, the 16th of April, 2025, and I'm here at work early as usual. It's about 9:34 p.m., and I'll be starting my shift in another like 30 minutes or so. So I try to get in at least an hour of video gaming every day. Sometimes I go over, actually pretty often that happens, and sometimes I get less. Like today I got home from work, I went to Jack in the Box. I got my something I get pretty frequently, the teriyaki chicken bowl that comes with the egg roll, and I got 6 of those French toast things, which I swear they put crack in them or something because they're so freaking good. So that was like my breakfast. I watched a little bit of Daredevil this morning. I almost finished the latest episode, the 9th episode. So I've been keeping up with the show. I used to watch Daredevil when he was on the Netflix show, and I liked the movie with Ben Affleck. I mean, I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but I liked it. Daredevil has been one of my favorite characters for a while. I used to love playing him in Marvel Imperfects when I had that game. I guess I still have it somewhere on my GameCube. It wasn't the most powerful character in the game, it just kind of swung around, and it's almost like Spider-Man type of character. And I remember reading some John Romita Daredevil stuff back in the day. I remember him fighting with, I think he was fighting Punisher on a bus, or was it Bullseye? I can't remember. But that's my earliest memories of Daredevil comics, and a storyline where he had gotten injured fighting the Incredible Hulk. And also there was a storyline where he had got his foot caught in a bear trap or something. He was walking around with a cast. And a trench coat, but still wearing his costume. Go figure. I think I really got into Daredevil the most when Brian Michael Bendis started working on. And Brian Michael Bendis, for all that don't know, he is, he's responsible for Miles Morales, the character Naomi. He had Superman give up his secret identity in the comics for a while when he went to DC. But for me, I love the fact that he took Daredevil and Jessica Jones, which is a character he also is responsible for. I think he created her, but I know he was writing her series Alias. I think he wrote that. But he had the street level characters like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. He took these characters and like really made them cooler. And when he was working on the New Avengers, the team was it was a really cool team. You had characters like Spider-Woman, which a lot of people probably don't even, didn't really know about. She wasn't a character that was used a lot. But he took some of these characters that were like, unlikely team. I think it was like an unlikely team, because you had Captain America, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones was there. Daredevil turned down the membership offering. Spider-Man. Daredevil was like, I can't join because I'm dealing with some stuff right now and I don't want to drag y'all into it. Sentry was a member. I think it was Hawkeye was running around with the Ronin identity. Those are really, really good stories. But like I said, my Brian Michael Bendis, I really appreciate his work. And like I said, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Miles Morales. And he really made Luke Cage a popular character. because he put him on the Avengers team, and I think that was really the first time we got a look, a real good look at Luke Cage. Is we got a his character was like front and center, and then the whole thing with him and Jessica Jones having a baby. And but Alias is a really good series. If you haven't read it, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It was about Jessica Jones and her private investigation company that she had, and she had a really big case where she had to deal with protecting Captain America's secret identity. So yeah, so I guess Kingpin isn't going to out Daredevil. I mean, I guess he hasn't yet. Maybe he might do it later. I don't want to give away spoilers, but I mean, I'm really not. But in the comic books, Daredevil's life was pretty much ruined because Kingpin outed him, and he couldn't practice law. Pretty much lost everything, and then they had this big war with each other. Now, I wish that they would do something with the fact that Luke Cage in his series was actually starting to become like a more prominent figure. That storyline, maybe when they I guess they're gonna bring Luke Cage back in the next season of Daredevil, because I guess he's gonna put together a team. I don't know if they're gonna be the Defenders or they're gonna have another name. But Luke Cage at the end of his series was becoming like a kind of like a crime lord type of character. And I don't know if he was running. I don't know if he ever got more into politics later. I think he might actually have in the comic books recently. And he was running around in a costume for a while. But there've been all kinds of rumors about certain characters coming back. I liked Iron Fist. I thought he was pretty cool. I mean, yeah, they could have done better with the fighting choreography. But then I read that they didn't really have a lot of time. I don't know if I would have picked him. He wouldn't have been my first choice. But I mean, he kind of grew on me. I used to read Power Man and Iron Fist comic books back in the day. I think the whole martial arts thing and using the chi, the power, that's really really cool. And Luke Cage is like, one of the first, if not the first, black character, comic book character. And I'm glad they kind of moved away from the stereotypical way he used to talk in the comic books. Because Luke Cage came about during that blaxploitation time period, I guess. So some of the things that he would say, the lingo of slang of that time. But I mean, who says "Sweet Christmas"? Nobody says that. But that kind of ended up becoming like one of his catchphrases. So it would be nice to see Mike Coulter come back as Luke Cage. I do believe Luke Cage is actually taller in the comic books than he is. Jessica Jones was pretty cool. I think the Defenders show, the Defenders series that they did, really wasn't that good. So I just think they should have had like more villains or cooler villains. It really was just them fighting Elektra. Really, that's what it kind of boiled down to. Taking them, all four of them, to fight Elektra. And there was a comic book that came out years ago. I think it was called The Crew. And you had characters like Daredevil, Luke Cage, Misty Knight, who has like a bionic arm. And there was a character, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he had Black Panther. He had actually stolen Black Panther's suit, and he was running around pretending to be. That's it. I mean, he had Black Panther's suit, and he was running around, but he was a guy. It was a mixed race. He was black and white, light-skinned guy, and I know that later his character ended up getting like a sort of like a knockoff version of the heart-shaped herb. Those are characters, man. There's a lot of characters that Marvel and DC have that they just really are just sleeping on. I think these are cool characters, and every now and then some of these characters will pop back up. You know, but they have characters that they're not using. It always seems like it's about, with DC it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. With Marvel it's Spider-Man, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man. The usual suspects. Hulk, of course, Doctor Strange. And some of those characters weren't even that popular before the Avengers movies, because Iron Man was actually kind of like a B-level character before the Iron Man movie got really popular. Nobody was really checking for Iron Man back in the day. But there was some good Iron Man stories, particularly his whole alcoholic thing that he had to deal with, and they didn't really tackle that in the movie. They did have one scene in one of the movies where he got drunk and went crazy, but the alcoholism, it was a controversial storyline. And I know they were pushing the envelope back then because they weren't even allowed to write about certain things because of the comics code. There were certain things that were off limits, which was why they didn't really have like a lot of like vampires and monsters in comic books for a while. But then I guess they lapsed. They kind of, I don't know if they got rid of the comics code or they changed some things, and then there was like an explosion of like monsters and vampire comics and stuff for a while. I'd like to see some of those come back. I did enjoy the Creature Commandos that was done, the cartoon and the comic book. I like those monster characters, of course. The Marvel really doesn't have anything right now. There was a Werewolf by Night comic. It's sort of like a mini little mini series that tied into the whole Blood Hunt big vampire storyline that happened last year. Moon Knight deals with monsters and stuff. Blade had an ongoing series for a while, but it got canceled right after. I guess he got powers from Dracula and just kind of became a bad guy really. So I don't know what they're gonna do with Blade. I know his daughter had a comic book for a while, Bloodline, I think her name is. So yeah, the Daredevil, the 9th episode, I think was really good, and it was nice to see. Spoiler territory here. So if you haven't seen the episode, you might want to tune out for the next 5 minutes. But it was nice for Punisher to show up and help out. And I do think that they need to do a little bit more with Bullseye, like explaining, like, does he have, it's not adamantium, but he's got some kind of metal in his body that makes him, basically makes his bones unbreakable. In the comic books, he actually has adamantium in his bones. And him and Daredevil used to have a weird psychic link. Like Daredevil could sense when he was around. I guess kind of like Highlander. The immortals can sense when the other mortals are around, but the writers just quietly retconned it, or they just stopped talking about it. But yeah, they gave Bullseye the adamantium. I think Kingpin actually did it, if I can remember correctly. I think sometimes the writers forget in the comic books too that Bullseye has adamantium in his bones. But anyway, that's my video for today. But if you're not watching Daredevil on Disney Plus, it's a really good show, and definitely go back and watch the Netflix episodes too, because they have those on Disney Plus as well. Just like they have Luke Cage, they have Jessica Jones, they have Iron Fist, and they have the Defenders team up, which really wasn't that good. But I mean, Daredevil was in it, so a little bias. So I'm about to start my shift. I got about 12 minutes to finish my coffee and put on my uniform. Well, my jacket uniform anyway. I have my uniform on under here, but I got to put my jacket on. It's a little chilly over here right now. I think the next few days it's going to be like in the 60s over here, or the low 70s. So it's feels like it's a little unusual. The winter seemed like it lasted longer. I don't know, and it felt like the summer like kind of went on for a long time. I don't know if it's climate change or what's going on, but anyway, thank you for watching Nerds with Badges for April 16th, 2025. I'll be back with more videos. I got to do more videos for my crowdfunding campaigns that I'm doing for my cartoon and my film and my comics. It's a lot of projects I've got coming up this year, so I'm gonna be doing videos like left and right. And I got to get my business started, my LLC, my website. It's a lot of stuff, man. I tell you. So there will be an explosion of videos pretty soon.